going on, everybody? This is Zachary Perez, and this is my 570 Evaluating Your School video response. The first question asks, where is your school in compliance to the administrative tasks in regards to chapters 8 and 9? Over at Cypress College, I believe we are very up to task. Um, Scheduling wise, we schedule very far in advance. Coaches know game times and opponents approximately 2 to 3 months in advance, and that really gives them an opportunity to prepare on game days what they want to do and how they want to go about their business. So that's something that is really big in our book over there. As for transportation, we have buses that are booked for teams that are traveling, and some of the times, obviously, we pair teams together depending on conference games and how far the opponent actually is. We had an instance last year where we were playing Copper Mountain College over in Joshua Tree, and we shared the bus with the girls' basketball team. It just made more sense logistically, and we played back to back, so it wasn't that big of a deal. We also have vans available for teams that are too small for buses. Many of the times we drive vans somewhere just because we're a 16-team roster. Other sports like football or whatever could use buses more often just because they hold 32 to 50 players based on their sport. As for van purposes, many of the times we do have emergency cards in there in case of an emergency. And we go through background checks for the drivers to make sure that, we're good, like the coaching staff are good drivers to make sure the student athletes are in good hands anytime we go to and from a place. Also, for traveling purposes, we do have hotel accommodations for all sports. So if we go up north or down south, 3 hour, 4 hours away, it's good to stay in hotels just so we're not on the road as student athletes very often. As for scheduling officials, we go through a system called Arbiter, which is basically a system used for officials in each sport where they all have their designated assigners, and those assigners assign referees to the sporting events. So that makes sure far in advance that referees know where to go, and we always have refs, so that's a big one for sports, obviously. The school also requires an administrator to be at each home sporting event to manage any conflict that may come about. That could be the Dean of Athletics, the AD, or the SI. Moving forward, budget purposes wise, we also have a contingency budget, which is basically for postseason sports. Any team that makes the postseason, obviously that's a extra game that you didn't necessarily plan for. So that's basically a reserve tank of money that is used for athletics that advance far in the playoffs, and that's obviously the key. Or that's what you want as a coach for your players to go far and to build character and all that. Basically, I know all this just because at the beginning of the year we kind of host meetings to make sure everyone's on the same page scheduling wise, and to make sure communication is on point to avoid any conflict or any problems. And that's a big thing. Obviously, it's a college. College setting is much different than a high school probably. So I feel like at the college level we don't come across as many problems as maybe a high school would. And the other reason I kind of got a feel for this is because the administrator's office is actually right next to the basketball office, so I had the opportunity to talk with one of the administrators to see how we handle all this stuff. So that was obviously really good. The second question asks, where's your school out of compliance with these administrative tasks? Like I said before, because I feel like we're a college and everybody has a lot of experience or has had experience at the high school level before. We don't go through many problems very often. The only time we really get out of compliance, I would say, is when there's a miscommunication between schools. One school might feel that they're coming into the school having a scrimmage, and another team might think, hey, this is an actual game. So one way to avoid that is just communicate early and make sure it doesn't happen. Uh, Other than that, I mean, I feel like these cons can be avoided by communicating ahead of time. Um, and I just like I said before, being in a college setting, it's way different than maybe a high school. So I'm looking forward to seeing how your guys' schools kind of are in compliance with everything and see what kind of problems you guys face. And yep, let's have a good rest of the week.